Welcome to Selling Secrets, the show about action movies and spy films. Our mission is to look at the movies we love and go behind the scenes to find out what makes a successful Hollywood blockbuster. From interviews to movie reviews, marketing campaign analysis, and more, Selling Secrets is your home of spy films and action movies. Do you know what it takes to make a Hollywood blockbuster successful? Let's find out together on Selling Secrets. Hello and welcome to Selling Secrets. I'm your host, Josh Gay. This week I have a special interview with a man who's a good friend of mine and is also a very good friend to the James Bond fan community. Joining me is James Roberts, the chief editor of the James Bond Down Under fan page and Instagram page. Over the past 2 years of me creating content both for Selling Secrets and for my little fan page 007 Oz, James has been a massive inspiration and helping hand. Through all the lockdowns that we had here in Melbourne, Australia, James was able to rally the Australian community around the Bond fandom and kept the spirit alive across Australia when we had all the delays for the film caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. A massive thank you for James to coming on to the podcast today to talk about all things James Bond and his fandom in general. So without further ado, let's get into the interview. Here's my chat with James Roberts, aka James Bond Down Under. Hello and welcome to Selling Secrets. I'm your host, Josh Gay. Joining me today is a very good friend of mine. He's a man who is a massive James Bond fan, so we've got a lot in common. His name is James Roberts. He's the creator, the editor-in-chief of the James Bond Down Under fan page. James, thank you very much for coming on.
Thanks for having me, Josh. It's great to be here.
Absolutely. It's I can't believe that We've been friends for, I guess, the better part of the last year now.
Yeah, absolutely.
I haven't got you on yet. So finally been able to get you on. And
I've been seeing No Time to Die too much. So,
well, we're going to talk about that because I know you've seen it a couple of times.
Yeah.
But it's nice to have someone in my own time zone to talk to for once.
Yeah. No early mornings or late nights.
I mean, it's 9:30 at night, so
true. Yeah.
Say that is what it is, but it's not. Yeah, it's not 5 o'clock in the morning getting up for Luke or Calvin or David.
That's worth it, though.
Very true. Very true. Well, look, for those who don't know who you are, can you tell us who you are and what you do?
Well, pretty much as you said, I'm chief editor, and I started James Bond Down Under, which pretty much started as a Instagram page. That I started almost 7 years ago, and pretty much I just wanted to start something instead of keep posting on my personal page and annoying my friends and family that weren't so much into Bond as I was. That's really where it started, and then basically once I got the name, and I actually got that straight away pretty much. I was like, I think that's something unique, It's not, no offense, it's not Oz or not Australia, it's bang, it's Down Under, it's instantly recognizable, and it's stuck really, which is really good. So I started that and gone from there.
Very nice. And yeah, it's a very, very catchy name for the blog, for the Instagram, James Bond Down Under, everyone goes, yep, that's Australia. When I was saying to David last week when I was speaking with him, would you like to see James Bond Down Under? It's not James Bond in Australia, Everyone refers to Australia as Down Under. So I reckon you've got something there with it, my man. And I mean, being the biggest James Bond fan page in Australia, I mean, you've got over 20,000 followers on Instagram. Yeah. That's huge. So
it's nuts. Yeah, 28, I think now. And it just keeps going. And, obviously I've had Facebook in the past, not so much now. Really just focus on Instagram. So it's just a better platform and easier media, to use. So
Absolutely. Have you considered getting onto TikTok yet?
No, not at all. I'm not creative enough.
You and me both.
Some of the videos that they do or whatever it is, they're really good. So someone else can do that.
Absolutely. It's something that I was looking at. I went, should I do it? I kind of started putting stuff there and went, no, it's too hard. It's not worth it.
Yeah, no, that's for sure.
Well, speaking of James Bond, I mean, what was your first experience with the James Bond franchise, and what sort of effect did that have on you?
Well, growing up, I actually started pretty young. My dad used to watch, he'd be night shifts and so on, so I'd be sitting there during the day, 4 or 5, and I can vividly remember You Only Live Twice, on the TV, the Volcano, Blofeld, Sean Connery, Little Nelly. So that's definitely my first experience. And then cinematically it was GoldenEye, of course. And again, it was a relationship not with my dad actually, but it was my mum. She a huge cinema goer and big Bond fan herself. So GoldenEye was her Bond, and Dad never really went to the cinema. So it was different, split in terms of the Bond relationship. So that side at home with Dad, and then Mum at cinema. So, it really kicked off with GoldenEye, of course. Being 9 years old, it was phenomenal.
That's
there's
really cool.
Pierce Brosnan jumping off, towards the Cessna and off the runway. He was like Superman. He was brilliant.
Oh, man, to have been able to have that experience is something that I wish I could have had, because GoldenEye is just the peak. And
yeah, Die Another Day, didn't you?
Yeah.
Casino?
No, Die Another Day was my first cinema.
That's okay.
I loved it.
There's a few of you at that age.
Yeah, exactly. I'm nearly 30, so it's that right age bracket. But that must have been a really, special experience for you to be able to share both, the home viewing experience with your dad and the cinema with your mum.
Absolutely. And I remember Roger Moore, really, that's what he used to watch, and Timothy Dalton. So, he was a Welshman himself. So basically, we had that connection. And, Timothy, I'm very fond of, so as Bond. And I guess that's why,
Well, who is your James Bond? Who do you go to the most?
Well, License to Kill is my most watched Bond. I adore the film, as much as all of them, but it's something I just go to. If I need to sit down and just watch a Bond, it's usually License to Kill.
What is it about License to Kill that keeps you coming back?
I think the adrenaline rush I get from it, from the pre-title sequence. You've got the brilliant action set pieces. You've got Robert Darby, who's phenomenal in the film. Timothy, I think it's his own film, versus Living Daylights, which I always feel was scripted for Pierce Brosnan, and Timothy just jettisoned into it. Overall, I just really enjoy the film. That's for sure. So it's not one of the best, of course, but it's just that favorite. I've always had 2 lists: a best of Bond and favorite of Bond. And Timothy's in that role, in that column, but Sean's in the best of. That's how we all see it, I think.
Absolutely. Well, Timothy's my favorite. So, License may not be my favorite Bond film, but he's my favorite Bond. So I completely agree with you in terms of his portrayal of the character and just him owning the role in that film. Like
his manner in it is just phenomenal. Even in Living Daylights, like he's just nailed it.
Yeah.
I think he's basically translated Fleming from page to screen the best, as we, pretty much all recognize that, I think.
Well, there's the photos of him on set reading the books, cigarette in hand. And
how good is it?
It just embodied the character so much. Like, Connery, you go, okay, he's the classic, film Bond. But if you're thinking something close to the character itself, no one better than Dalton. So, I'm so glad that I can share my love for Dalton with someone finally.
There's a lot of people out there, that's for sure. Don't worry.
Absolutely. Well, it's always fun, talking with all these Americans who go, they hate him. There's something like you either love him or you hate him. So it's nice to talk to people who share the same passion that I do.
I think Brian Dobson of JBR is the biggest Dalton fan. Yeah.
All right. I'm gonna have to get him on and have a chat with him then.
Check some of the JBR videos he's on. It's like Dalton everything. It's great.
Fantastic.
It brings a smile to the dial.
Well, obviously you're a massive Bond fan, right? But are there any other franchises that you gravitate towards or that you're a fan of? And why has James Bond captured, say, your imagination and your passion compared to those other ones that you might be a fan of?
Look, I'm really a general cinema lover, but obviously Bond's right up there. I've got to say Batman's probably second for me. Absolutely adore, the films, like, what they've done. I've never really gone into the comic books or the TV series. I remember the cartoon when I was young, growing up, but didn't really fantasize or get into that as much. I love Star Wars, but I'm not into it like a lot of people. I enjoy the spectacle of it all. And that's really what Bond is the spectacle, on the big screen. But there's something else there. I think you just relate to it. You've grown up with it. You spoke about how Australia's a British colony, British... what do you call it?
We're a prison colony.
There you go. That's our background. That's my background with a Welsh dad. So, you've grown up with it, and that's what it is. And to me, it's the best franchise in the world.
So, other than the Bond films, like obviously the films have played such a big role in your life, but other than the films themselves, is there anything outside of them in the Bond world that you gravitate towards, whether it be the books, the games, the comics?
The posters, to be honest. I'm a huge collector of posters, but I've really gone niche with it and basically collected as many Australian Bond posters as I can. I actually had 2 weeks leave a few weeks ago, and I was going to do a stock take of sorts, but I didn't get round to it. But it's about 160 original posters, Australian posters now.
Wow.
So, that's really my forte. I've got a bookcase of here in front of me covered in books and CDs and vinyls and games and Blu-rays and DVDs, VHS. But it's the posters, as you can see behind me.
I was going to say, I'm looking, you've got From Russia with Love, Moonraker, Thunderball. Oh my God, Your Eyes Only.
On this side, I've got Skyfall, Living Daylights ×2. So there you go. You Only Live Twice, a double day bill. That one's covered, but it's Dr. No and From Russia. Everywhere. I've got a Dr. No, still framed, like it's not even hung up on the wall, just sitting here on the floor.
Get out.
Framed. It's a really nice one. So it's a day bill. So yeah, posters are my thing. I've always loved posters.
Absolutely. What is it about the posters that draws you to them?
I just think it's the artwork, really. I've always loved posters, again, from a young age, and maps and things like that. I used to love a lot of the circus posters when I was young. So Octopussy's, a very plain sort of poster, but I always liked the graphic of it. That's for sure. So, it's just the artwork, and, some of them, they're 60 years old. That's amazing to have that, in your hand, or, pretty much where you can reach out and touch it and see the lithograph or the computer design, depending on the new ones and so on. So, I just love it.
And the artistry behind the old ones. I know we've had this conversation offline many a time, but there's something about those old posters that the new ones just can't capture in terms of the creativity.
Not at all. Whether it's a McGuinness or, any of them really, any of the designers, they all did a terrific job. That's for sure. And like, for instance, talking about the Dr. No, just the pose of Sean Connery, it's just...
It's iconic.
Brilliant. That smoke coming from the cigar and the gun. It's just superb.
And you don't get that with the new ones, because the new ones, they're always the floating head post.
Yeah. I think the closest we got was the US teaser for Casino.
Yeah, yeah.
When he's at the at the poker table, that was phenomenal.
That was
and
a very cool one.
the tone of it, I love that one.
I
also love the Skyfall, with the gun barrel. Yes, it was probably the first basic, one that we got other than Quantum of Solace, but it's just iconic, and particularly for the 50th anniversary, what a poster.
Absolutely basic, but it knew what it was doing. It's not
Exactly.
like, say, No Time to Die,
that.
where they've tried to put everything on there or nothing on there. It's iconic imagery used well.
Yeah.
So I agree with you there.
I'm glad they chose the black and white No Time to Die.
Yeah,
the one with the combat suit just didn't cut it for me. It was better than the teaser.
Yeah,
the Greg Williams shot. Duck face one, but the black and white was so much better. Absolutely.
I completely agree with you. There was something about the combat one as well where it just felt it didn't look high res enough.
No, exactly. I always thought that, actually. And the colors just didn't match. It wasn't something you're going to... Like, if you compare the color of the background to the Quantum of Solace poster, with Bond and Olga on it, the color on the Quantum is so much better.
It just pops, doesn't it? I've actually got the you probably can't see it, it's on the other side of my wall. I've got the DVD one with the explosion behind him.
Yeah.
Even that's
with the grey. That's phenomenal, that one. I love it.
It's such a cool really poster.
Good. Yeah.
Well, back on to No Time to Die, obviously, and you as a creator within, the Bond universe. Obviously in Australia we had some setbacks. The film was delayed several times, and we got it a lot later, I should say, than the rest of the world did. That must have been a tough time for you, not only as a fan but as a creator. How did you cope with the delays and the setbacks in the lead up to the new film?
I mean, obviously it was really disappointing. I think the first one was okay because of the reason behind it, but we were so close, to that April 8th date, but COVID hit, of course, and, the rest of it is history. But I think the sucker punch was November. It was looking likely that lockdowns were going to affect it, particularly in Victoria and New South Wales.
Ooh, yeah.
And once that was in, that was it. Like the writing was on the wall, as you could say. It was great to have connections like with Universal and some cinemas to confirm it. I think it broke first on MI6, and then I waited for confirmation. Once that was it. What can you do? Exactly. And at the end of the day, it was the right decision, by all parties, because people got to see the film in cinemas, just like Eon had done for the worldwide release. It's the same sort of thing. So yes, we got to see it later, but still technically on in cinemas. So
I was going to say it's got about a week or so left to run here.
I would say in Melbourne, you're lucky. In Sydney, it's pretty much had its run.
Well, I was going to say I haven't seen it in cinemas, and then you told me the other day that it's still running. I've gone, maybe I should go and see it one last time.
Yeah, go to Gold Class. It's like Village Cinemas. Why not?
Absolutely.
Treat yourself.
Well, as a creator, obviously, it must have been even tougher than just as a fan, because there wasn't necessarily the content coming out or anything like that.
Exactly. What do you fill the void with?
Exactly. How did you keep pushing forward, and what inspired you to keep creating?
You were a major part of that.
Yeah, thank you.
From Recast with Love. So that series was phenomenal. You started off, and then I caught on the bandwagon. It was phenomenal. I loved doing that.
It was
and
so
collaborating
much fun.
with yourself, recasting all the films with 2021 actors. What a great idea! And it came off pretty well. I enjoyed it.
Absolutely, and I think having someone like yourself, for me at least, I stole the idea from, I think it was Q Branch Media, who I originally saw it doing. But it was something for me that just allowed me to keep creating. And then when you jumped on board and we both started, I think that was probably around the time where we both sort of started talking, and we were, really connecting. And it was awesome to have someone like yourself who could keep pushing me and keep sort of my fandom alive. I know that was
exactly.
so much fun. But
And
outside of that, was there anything else that that you kept going and kept the spirit alive?
No, not really. To be honest, I'd love to say I went back and read all the books and all that, but no, I just kept plodding along. Really, work life was busy still, so that was good. Just collecting still. So poster collecting never stops.
Absolutely.
And even during lockdown, when financially you might be stuffed a little bit, an auction pops up. So you just got to keep going with that. And I think I did have a big one where I bought about 4 posters.
Oh, wow.
In one hit. So it rains, and, when it rains, it pours, that's for sure.
Yep, I think that's one of the reasons why my fiance has consolidated our bank balances now. she can see when I purchase.
She's smart.
What was the eBay purchase today, Josh?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, look, let's talk No Time to Die.
Yeah.
It finally released in November of 2021.
Yeah, phenomenal.
What did you think?
Oh, it was brilliant. It was literally, I walked out of the premiere on the 9th. Yeah, on the 9th, because it was released on the 11th. And I was buzzing. I knew I had a real high expectation going into it, to be honest. Obviously, I'd actually seen a few scenes, particularly Bond's death on YouTube. I couldn't resist hitting play on some of the videos that leaked. It didn't bother me, to be honest, because I effectively 2 years ago, prior, made up my mind that that's the only way they're going to be able to go forward with the series and to finish. I hate to use the word arc, but the Daniel Craig story is how I prefer to say it. That was really the only way they could do it, particularly with Madeline coming back, everything. It just, you knew that was how they were going to do it. But how they were going to do it, hadn't a clue. So, even watching the YouTube the first time didn't really bother me whatsoever, and hasn't ever since. And what an emotional roller coaster. I don't think I've come out of a session without a tear in the eye. That's for sure. So, no, I absolutely love the film. It was beyond my expectations. I think I said, probably to yourself and many others, I couldn't fault a scene. That was the first Bond film I've ever said I could not fault a scene. Maybe I can now, but, for the first couple of viewings, brilliant.
Well, how many viewings have there been? Because I know you're a super fan, and I know there's been a few.
There's been a few. So Spectre, I actually did 13 screenings or viewings at the cinema.
That's
and
huge.
I broke it with this one. I didn't think I'd get there knowing how long it was.
Yeah.
But I've got to 14. I was hoping to do 15 this weekend, but it just didn't really match out, unfortunately.
It's massive.
So 14 screenings. I've actually got a list. I went through all the tickets and the bookings and things like that and just went, where the hell have I seen it? When? And, so pretty much it's been out for this is the 16th week. So,
yeah.
Just, around every week almost. But obviously the first week I saw it on at the premiere on the, whatever it was, Tuesday night. Then I saw it Thursday morning. I took my mum with that. And then I saw it with friends Thursday evening. Then I was in the city watching it on Friday evening at a session that Paxton, a good friend in Sydney, he actually organised, and I introduced the film, which was an amazing experience. So doing things like James Bond Down Under, gets you to do things like that. Who on earth would have thought 5 years ago I'd be introducing the 25th James Bond film, to an audience?
It's incredible experience. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and for people to be able to look up to you and recognize you as a leader within the community, it says a lot about your passion and your knowledge of the franchise. And I think why your content has had such longevity and success in general, because I've never seen any negativity come out of your channel. It's always positivity.
I'll stop you there. I was hashtagging no time to delay and all sorts.
Oh, well, yeah, okay. That was founded.
That was,
right?
yeah, and that was a selfish perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we wanted the film, and we got the rough end of the stick here in Australia.
Yeah.
I mean, look, as I said to David in my interview with him, my partner works in healthcare, and she's studying her master's in public health promotion and all that sort of stuff. So I've been reading all of the the course material that she's been doing, and basically everything they did here was by the book in terms of the pandemic, the lockdown. But it still hurts. Like, there's no denying that stuff takes a toll. And when you're looking forward to something like the film, and then something like that comes on top of it, it definitely knocks you down a peg. But
it's like Mission Impossible. Come on.
Yeah. Don't get me started on that. I'm looking forward to that film. And Top Gun as well, obviously.
Yeah, that's had a massive delay. I mean, I remember seeing the trailers like 2 years ago. And going, this crazy. Looks amazing.
I love Tom Cruise. Give him all the crap. I really, really love Tom Cruise.
I've always been
as
a fan.
An actor.
Yeah.
Well, out of all of those 14 screenings, I should say, what was sort of the highlight for you? Was there a particular place or a particular cinema where you'd go, that was the one?
I mean, my local I went 3 times to. It's a fairly new renovated cinema for event, and they've got the VMAX. It's probably the biggest VMAX screen I've seen other than Parramatta VMAX in Sydney, where I went for one of the Star Wars films, and I was blown away. I thoroughly enjoyed it there. Second row, so pretty close to the screen. But the sound, it was just perfection. The screen's perfection. So I really enjoyed those screenings. But it was the Westpac open air cinema in Sydney, so overlooking Sydney Harbour Bridge and Sydney Opera House. In the background, that was just phenomenal. I've never gone to an outdoor session of any film before, so it was really special. And the first night, it was just a beautiful, clear night. You could see the stars, the fruit bats were flying around. The speakers, the sound that they've got, I've got to find out what sort of speakers they use. They were phenomenal. To be outside, of course, they got to carry it. But like bits in the Cuban scenes, you could hear people conversing over on the left and the right, and you're like, turning around going, be quiet, will you? And it's actually people in the film. It was hilarious. But it wasn't just me. There was other people around me going, shh, like this. And the sound effects was so good.
That's so cool.
The DB5 chase in Matera was just phenomenal on that, on that sound system and the screen. I found the screen a little duller, probably because it's outdoors.
Yeah.
But that didn't bother me at all. But, I really enjoyed the Westpac. So I went the second time. That was the last time I've gone to see it so far, hopefully.
And
hopefully not.
What have you to look out on as well? I've seen some of the photos that you've posted, and the Harbour Bridge in the background. Obviously, I'm from Melbourne, so we don't have those iconic views.
No.
It's
got
incredible.
the MCG and
it's not exactly the same though.
Little Yarra River.
Ferris wheel. Yeah,
exactly. There you go.
we're trying to be London, but we're not really pulling it off, right?
No. You need a Q-boat going along.
Definitely. Well, in terms of the film itself, obviously you loved it. You've seen it 14 times.
Yeah.
Where does it for you rank in the pantheon of Bond films? Is it right up there with the likes of Goldfinger, GoldenEye, dare I say it, License to Kill? Is it right up there?
I don't know yet, to be honest. It's definitely up there on the favourite list. It's my favourite Craig. Let's put it that way.
Wow.
The minute I came out of the premiere, to people that were there, I said that straight away. I was like, that is my favourite Craig. Yes, Casino is phenomenal. Skyfall is epic. But that is my favourite one. And I've heard a lot of people say it's not a film that you could go and sit and, put on and sit and watch. I disagree. I think it's just brilliant. Like from start to end, there's only probably 2 scenes that really I don't lose my train of thought, but it just doesn't grab me as much. And that's actually like Blofeld's scene
Yeah.
And then Madeline in Norway again with Bond, halfway through, well, not halfway through the film, but a little bit more. They probably don't grab me as much as the rest of the film. But otherwise, it's right up on the favourite list. But on the best, I don't know yet.
Yeah.
It's definitely not top 5. It's maybe a smidge in the top 10.
Okay. All right.
I'll put it there. Yeah. For now. What was that listing thing that we all?
Oh yeah, there was that app, the listing thing where you put all the Bonds in different categories and everything. Yeah,
I think it came 8th on that.
Yeah, I'd say that would probably be for me around there. Yeah.
Yeah, and look, to be honest, Spectre when it first came out though was 4th for me.
Wow.
And then it's right down the bottom.
I was going to say it was always down the bottom for me.
No, I mean I loved it, but on review, And I saw it last year at the cinema. Reading had all the Craig films on. I missed Casino and Skyfall with work, but Quantum versus Spectre, I absolutely adored and enjoyed Quantum so much better than Spectre at the cinema again. So it's fallen right down.
Yeah.
I think it was just the novelty factor, but definitely No Time to Die doesn't just have the novelty factor. So it's going to stay for me. Yeah. Oh, it shits all over Spectre. So
yeah, I couldn't agree more. It's such a captivating story where Spectre feels like it's plodding and there's a lot of exposition. I think No Time to Die really hits those story beats well, and that's why it's been so successful. I mean, it's what is it, the most successful film in the UK now? It's getting up there.
It's done well. Done well. I don't know the exact figure, but it's done really well, hasn't it? And if you think of the conditions, it's the current market it's in.
Huge.
To beat some of the Marvel films, all that. It's been really good. Even in Australia, it's beat Skyfall, which I thought Spectre, which I thought it would.
Yeah.
It's nearing 26 million, which I estimated, so I really want it just to go the extra mile. Victorians and Adelaide viewers, go on.
I'll try and push it over.
Put your money where your mouth is. But it's done well, and Daniel Craig's done well. 146 million in Australian, in US dollars. In Australia, it's phenomenal.
It's crazy. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, now that No Time to Die is over, obviously, where do we go from here? Well, we're in the 60th anniversary year. It's great timing. I mean, we go off the back of that straight into the 60th anniversary. So it's, I was just thinking, geez, it's already been that long since Skyfall. But out of all the things that have been announced for the 60th anniversary, whether it's a book or a game or something like that, is there anything that you're really looking forward to sort of getting your hands on or experiencing?
I'd like to see a Blu-ray, a 4K box set come out.
Yep.
And not just a wallet of discs or anything like that. I want individual, really nice cases and designs on those cases. Some of the fan-made stuff is fantastic. If fans can do it, definitely, and I think the market's there for a collectible, even if it's again another limited edition, numbered sort of collection. I actually, work in retail, and I used to be in a CD DVD department when the Attaché case was released. I was the number one, surprise, I was the number one site in the whole of Australia selling that in a suburban department store in Sydney. I had stock coming from other stores, our city locations, because I was the one selling it. Because I did a big display in a museum case, of the really nice. I quite like that collection.
Yeah.
The artwork on the collection, the grey, border on the top and bottom, and the pictures in the middle. It was just fantastic, collector's edition. And, obviously I got one myself, and, it's a fantastic set. And I've bought the one that just came in the box only last year, actually. Great eBay find, $50 sort of thing. Love it. So, that was a really good set. So I really hope we get a 4K set. Obviously, nothing too much has been announced other than, Kim Sherwood's book and the Horowitz third novel. I'm not too familiar with the game. I know you've spoken a lot about it, so that's exciting. I'd like something more on, other platforms, so to speak. I don't know what platforms that comes on. Xbox, is it?
I think so. The one that's being made by the Hitman developers, that'll probably come out on everything.
Because that's going to be the better sort of game, isn't it?
I'd say so. So there's rumors that we're going to get like a GoldenEye remaster.
Right.
I'd
It
say
has to happen.
yeah. Well, I mean, that's the most successful James Bond video game
That'd
in
be
history, right?
That'd be on Switch, depending on contracts, I guess.
Well, yeah. So I was talking with Calvin Dyson about this, and so Microsoft owns Rare, who made the original game.
Yeah.
So there's rumors that it's going to be and there's been some leaks of achievements that you can get in the
saw
game.
that.
So there's the rumors that it might be an Xbox exclusive, but Calvin was saying potentially they may do like a re-release for the Switch or something like that of the original game.
Let's hope so. I'll be first in the door for a Switch.
Absolutely. But the one that's being made by the Hitman developers, that'll be on everything.
And is it like a first shooter sort of thing, or it's more...
They haven't announced anything yet. So from my understanding, if it's going to be like the Hitman ones, it'll be third person. So think sort of like Everything or Nothing, or From Russia with Love, or Bloodstone, where it's behind the character.
Yeah, see, I love Bloodstone and Quantum.
Yeah.
I really like that on PlayStation 3. I've got that. So they were great games.
Absolutely. So this one will be, I'm hoping, a bit more stealth oriented, and you'll get those sort of like really cool Bond spy moments that we haven't got in the game yet, which I'm really excited for.
I think No Time to Die would have made a brilliant game.
Oh God, yeah, but, absolutely.
How they manage the ending, I'm not sure.
Be a cinematic, take control out of your hands.
Exactly.
But I agree with you on the 4K set. It'd be so good to have.
It's a must.
And remastered properly, like we get like some proper transfers of the old films.
Yeah.
Whether they include the unofficial ones or not, I mean, it would be nice to have, but
I don't think they will.
No, definitely not.
I don't know if they have to. No, I don't think they do.
No, well, they don't own the rights.
After that lawsuit and stuff. But I don't think they've announced too much yet. I think there's a lot more to come. Over the next few months, we'll have a clearer idea. And obviously, David alluded to, some brands launching. I could probably guess that brand, but that's exciting for people that, collect that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I can guess the brand too. And from the clue he gave me, I've got a pretty good idea of what it is. But
we've got a store in Bondi, so that's good.
yeah. Screw you. I've got to travel 1,000 kilometers just to come and see it.
That's all right. I'm sure we'll have a few events down here, ourselves in October.
And that's something I'm really looking forward to now that we're allowed out of home, is to be able to celebrate and be together as a community.
And whether we do a special screening or cinemas do a special screening again, we were very lucky during lockdown, across Australia. A lot of the cinema chains like Palace and some local ones here in Sydney, down in Melbourne, ran, marathons basically, or double bills. Is phenomenal. So now I can say I've seen every James Bond film on the big screen. I think that's phenomenal.
I'm so jealous.
It's amazing. Thunderball was the last one to tick off. It was so good. Absolutely
I know.
Great.
Thanks to you, I got to see Goldfinger in cinema when they were doing that run. That was so cool, and thank you so much for that.
Nick, to see Odd Job on the big screen and the music, it's just so good.
It's such an epic film, and like my fiance, she's not really into the Bond.
Yeah.
She doesn't understand. I can't remember who I was saying this to, but she doesn't really understand action films or violence or anything. I said, look, if there's one film you're going to have to see, and understand why, it's got to be Goldfinger.
Classic, absolute classic. As I'm sitting here, I've got Sean Connery looking at me in his 3-piece, big studio, big cheap studio. So
that's so cool.
It's a great film.
Absolutely,
it's the number one for me, and always will be.
Yeah,
no film will take my top 3. No film will ever take my top 3 down. And it's both favorite and best is the same.
Yep,
Goldfinger, From Rush of Love and GoldenEye.
Wow. Okay. So even though you go back to License, it's not sitting in that top 3.
Oh, it's probably top 5.
Top 5? Yeah.
Favorites.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, yeah. For me, number 1's Casino. Like that film is
absolutely
untouchable. So I mean, again, my age, growing up with Daniel Craig, as it were. Well, I grew up with Pierce as well, but teen years being Daniel, I think for me that film's definitely right up there.
Oh,
Speaking of Daniel, obviously Daniel's gone now. Daniel's finished. I mean, unless they pull some sort of miracle where they piece his body back together.
He's done. Fukunaga has spoken.
Who would you like to see who don the cape or don the tuxedo coming into...
The guy's already donned the cape. Patterson.
Yeah.
Robert Patterson. No, look, it's a good one. I've always liked Aidan Turner. I've always liked the look of him. I've it's a bit of a Dalton fan coming out. He's the closest to that sort of Bond. I feel that we're probably going to go back to a darker haired Bond. He's got that sort of pose about him, the height. Daniel's only 5'10". We've got to realise Bond's 6'1", 6'2", like the other actors. I think someone like his ilk is probably up there, what I'd like. Who knows, though, what Barbara's going to go. Pretty much lately, particularly after Death on the Nile, seeing that, Tom Bateman stands out for me.
Yeah?
He's a name that not many people would know straight away. I feel his name sits well alongside the 6 other actors. It sounds a stupid thing to say. But I just saw something in him that I was like, he could potentially be the next Bond. I've always said the next actor will probably only do 3 films. It's going to be a bit of a Dalton. Imagine following Roger Moore, Sean Connery. The next guy is following Daniel Craig.
Yep.
It's a tough ask. I know David, the other day, and a really good point about the commercialism of a choice like, Harvey. What's his name? Henry Cavill.
Harvey Keitel.
You could also put what's his name in it? What's his name? Venom. No, the Venom guy.
Tom Hardy. Yes.
Tom Hardy. Oh God, how could I forget? I don't think so.
Yeah.
But again, he could be put in that commercialism bucket, so to speak. Other than whatever was on set of Mad Max, whatever happened there.
There's some stuff.
A few stories,
recently. It's some interesting things with him and Charlize that went on. Some maybe going a bit too method.
Oh God, there you go. If there was one film to go method, that would be it.
Yeah, absolutely. I wish he just.
It was a great film.
Method with the Australian accent a bit more. That would have been nice. It's one thing no one can get right is the bloody Australian accent.
Oh no, I know.
Well, other than the actor, though, right? So, what are you hoping for from Bond 26? Do you want it to?
I want Bond on a mission. Yep. On a solid mission. I'd love the pre-titles to go fully bombastic again. Really introduce Bond in that sort of way. Again, on the other hand, I wouldn't mind a casino scene to start it off. Like that sort of, and then it builds up from there. And perhaps having that bombastic straight after the pre-titles, sequence. Who knows? There's so much that can be done, but I really want Bond on a single mission. No more story arcs. No more, continuation like that. Just really a bombastic film that you walk out pumped. Obviously, No Time to Die wasn't that film, but we've had that film before. It's a one-in-a-generation film, and it deserved to be so. But I feel we will go back to a more Pierce Brosnan / more with a bit of darkness to it. Yeah. But also, if you think about Batman, for instance, like Casino followed Batman Begins because Batman Begins was 2005, and they're similar sort of story. They're seeing the origin. Yeah. So to me, I wouldn't be surprised that we follow the Batman, and the Batman is set in the second year of Batman. Yeah. So potentially you see something in between Quantum of Solace and Skyfall on the Bond timeline.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Because if you think about it, he's aged a lot more, in Skyfall, and that's what they play on within the film. So what happened in between? Something like that. So there's a lot that they could do.
Absolutely.
And I don't know, I'm not huge on the books and the novels, so I don't know a huge amount of storyline. Even though when it came up to Die Blofeld Die, I jumped out of my seat because I knew that line. I was like, oh my God, they've done it,
Yep.
So there's little things like that, but, whether there's little parts of stories, I'm sure they can, advance upon. It's like what I call the dentist chair in Spectre. Literally that was out of Colonel Sun. It was phenomenal. And that was the first time.
Years.
Yeah, I've read a little bit. Like I haven't read all of it, and I do enjoy that. It's a really good novel.
I'm going to have to go back to that now because I don't even remember that.
Yeah.
That gives me a whole new appreciation for that sequence, if that's the case. Wow, okay, thank you.
Yeah, that's good. It's really good.
All right, because, I still really struggle with Spectre, but if there's little nuggets like that I can pull out of it, I'm gonna be a bit happy.
It's the final act of Spectre, I think.
Yeah.
And the whole brother, in hindsight, the whole brother thing should never have happened.
Brofeld.
Yeah. that was just awful. And that's probably what drags the film down.
Did. Yeah.
I don't know. I've never watched it, but it's terrible.
You've never watched Austin Powers?
No, I don't do parody. I don't do anything like that. The only one I like is Johnny English.
Yeah.
I adore that because of Rowan Atkinson, and then Spy Hard. I think that was
Spy Hard's great. Absolutely.
Barrel of laughs.
Definitely. Well, look, I would recommend just for at least the first Austin Powers. The second two you can skip.
Yeah, forget.
Highly recommend the first one. And there's a French film, if you like, Johnny English. It's set in the 50s or the 60s.
Oh, OSS.
OSS 117 with Jean Dujardin.
I think it's coming up at the Palace French Film Festival.
Yeah, well, there's a third one.
Actually. Oh, okay.
That series lampoons the misogynistic 1950s, 60s Bond.
Doesn't he look the part?
Well. Oh, my God.
Doesn't he look the part?
Definitely.
I think I recast him as Hugo Drax last year.
I think you did, yeah. And I think I put him in as, was it Mathis or someone like that in one of mine?
Oh, that'd be good. Yeah.
He's got that right, French.
We stayed on the French. I put Omar Sy as Mathis.
That's right, I remember that.
We stayed on the French sort of side of things.
You kind of had to, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, look, I've put about an hour aside for this interview, and I don't want to keep up too much of your time. Obviously, we're getting later into the evening, but I just want to say a massive thank you for coming on, and a thank you for waving the Australian James Bond flag.
Why not?
We don't necessarily have the big community here, like
I feel it's starting to build though.
Yeah.
Like we've got people everywhere. We've got people in, Brisbane, in Sydney, majority of you in Melbourne, you've got Adelaide and Perth. So it's really good. No one from Tassie. We've got to get someone from Tassie, don't we?
I reckon we can find someone.
I'm sure we have to.
We have to be able to say we have people everywhere.
Yeah. And not just florists.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh, God.
Well, look,
Thank you so much.
Oh, no, thank you. Speaking of creators and whether it's Australia or not Australia, is there anyone who you would recommend that listeners of this podcast follow and who you think is doing something cool in the
in Australia, I love the Trey Bond boys. I think they do a great job. They've got their latest episode out. I think they're up to 57 episodes now after 2 years. It's a miraculous job, and it's a barrel of laughs again. Some of them are almost 3 hours long, and it's just fantastic. I've been fortunate to meet them a few times. We appeared on A Current Affair on the TV together. They're really good. So Trey Bond in Australia, Joe Darlington being James Bond, I'm a big fan of on YouTube. I've always been, and pretty much these guys are the reason why I started James Bond Down Under, James Bond Radio. So Chris and Tom, they're fantastic. Of course, they're not as active now as they used to be, but go back and watch their back catalogue. There's some superb interviews and, analysis of the films, the books, everything. The music, JW and co. Obviously, Bond experience as well. It's fantastic to have that connection to David and yourself having the interview recently.
Absolutely, that was a great experience, and I'll definitely link the all the accounts in the show notes below, and I highly recommend, as you said, Trey Bond. That is just a fantastic podcast. Those guys are so much fun to listen to, and same with James Bond Radio. They might be long podcasts, but they don't feel like it. There's always something.
That's
there.
it. Yeah, if you've got a train commute or anything like that, it's a perfect way to spend it.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, I've got an hour each way, so there's plenty of James Bond listening time for me. James, thank you again for coming on. Where can people find you online and follow James Bond Down Under? Yeah, so at James Bond Down Under on Instagram, currently on Facebook, but not really active there. I do have a website, JamesBondDownUnder.com, which I'm hoping to spend some time on and work and redo. And then also at Oz007 Poster Collector on Instagram. That's a long one. That's right. Well, again, I'll link all of that in the show notes. So if people want to check it out and follow along and see the incredible poster collection that you have, highly recommend them checking it out. Because
thank you.
Just from the snippets I've seen, it is so cool.
Let's hope I can do something for the 60th anniversary.
Absolutely.
Exhibition-wise, yeah. I'd love to do that.
Definitely.
Love to do that.
And I think we should organise something for the 60th anniversary in Australia. Let's get everyone together and put on a bit of an event, whether it's in Melbourne or Sydney.
We'll do both.
Bring everyone together. We can do both. Yeah. Bring everyone together and make something special out of what is an incredibly special year.
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you so much.
Oh, James, thank you again for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I look forward to doing this again with you.
Thanks, Josh.
Cheers. So that was my interview with James Roberts from James Bond Down Under. Thank you very much to James for coming on to the podcast again. I had a fantastic time talking all things James Bond with him. If you'd like to check out his content online, you can find that in the show notes of this episode. Likewise, if you'd like to follow Selling Secrets, you can find us on Instagram at Selling Secrets Pod and on Facebook, Selling Secrets Podcast. If you'd like to follow me, your host, Josh Gay, you can find me on Instagram at 007Oz, which is at 007AUS. Until next time, thank you very much for listening to Selling Secrets. I've been your host, Josh Gay, and I look forward to joining you for the next episode. Until then, stay safe and have a fantastic week.